You survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and supporting the Black Man with a Gun Show. This is the Black Man with a Gun Show live, number 2, and we're trying something new in 2018. I got my friend, my buddy, my main man, Michael J. Woodland from Munitions Weapons Tactical. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Ken. Thank you. Glad to be here. And once again, like I said, I'm happy to be talking to somebody versus just open air.
Man, nobody knows our tricks behind the screen.
Man, I'm trying to, like when I record a podcast, it normally takes me about 4 or 5 tries before I actually send it to you.
No problem. Man, this thing right here is kicking my butt. I have like all kind of anxiety about being in video, and I threw up a sheet to cover up some crazy stuff. I have nowhere. I have so far to go, but being patient with me, man.
Now, I'm with you on that. Like another thing, what I said was I always had this thing about talking in front of people because I would always look off, with military training because we would always have sunglasses on. But I had to program myself to look at people and actually go through it. But I enjoy talking, especially talking to groups of people. But at the same time, what I'm saying? It's just a process you'll overcome, and before you know it, you'll be a natural at it. Hey, you've been on TV plenty of times. So what do you got anxiety about?
Man, this is my thing. This is like my little office, my studio. I'm worried about like my wife running upstairs and throwing some pots down here, or something happening to the plumbing, or it's just you don't have no control on live stuff. So post-production is where I'm like the king at. So this live stuff scares me to death. If somebody else is running the camera, then I don't care. But right. When I'm like the wizard right now, I got the prompter here, and I make sure the audio is right, and I'm afraid of all kind of stuff. So I'll get over it eventually.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I think my alarm about to go off.
See, only on live it happens.
Yeah. Oh man, hey, hold on. Let me go turn this off right quick.
Man, look at this dude's studio. He's got a backdrop camera. He got boom mics. Got a little monkey hanging from the swing arm.
Well,
living large.
I did the boom mic back when I first started recording.
Okay.
You remember when I went to Louisiana and I was recording with you or for you, however you want to adjust it. I figured I'll make myself seem a little bit more important than I was. And then I do it, then I can position myself in a chair. But the chair I had was very uncomfortable. But like since I got out of the military, I've always had this desk in my house. So I just attached the mic to the desk, and I was like, I'm just gonna make this my office.
All right, you're doing it, man. You're doing it.
Trying to. What they say, small man in a big world.
That's all good.
Yeah. But outside of that, another thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do a lot more community activities.
Okay.
Just trying to bring more people out to do more two-way events, get people out to talk conversation wise. I just found out here recently that the city of Columbia is not really gun friendly as I thought they were. The state of South Carolina is, but the city isn't. So one thing I'm trying to do is I linked up with Kevin Dixie, and we're going to bring Aiming for the Truth to Columbia, South Carolina. And the other thing what I want to do is I want to open up like a kids mentor group, because everybody keeps talking about problems with guns. So one thing that there we go again, right? One thing that I feel that you can curb future violence with guns is educate people about guns. So if we can't educate adults and everybody get online, let's start with the children, and hopefully it'll move forward in that respect.
Right. Just a point of clarification. A gun by itself isn't violent.
That I do know. But every time you turn around, when somebody says or do something with a gun, what's the first thing they want to blame?
Oh, yeah. The gun. It's definitely blame. We gotta make sure our language is right though, because we're the ones who can correct them. That's all. But I know you're on the right side.
Yeah. So it's like I said, I'm just trying to do positive things for the community to keep it going forward. But at the same time, it takes everybody. And sometimes you just need a little push from one or two people, and that push will get the snowball effect going. And before you know it, everybody's happy, no complaints. You go bang, bang when you want to.
I'm with you.
Yeah. But speaking of that, did you hear about this gun store in Miami Beach? They settled with the city of Miami Beach with their gun store.
All right, tell me about that one. What happened?
Oh man, this was a pretty interesting story. So I think I posted it on the M-W Tactical Facebook page. But what it was, this gun store, the city wouldn't give them a license to operate as a gun store.
Okay.
So they approved them to do something like an outdoor store. But when they did their checks or whatever, the city fined them, shut them down for saying that they were selling guns illegally. And so they contacted the ATF and all those agencies to come in and shut them down. But when it came down to it, the city violated the law from preventing people from executing or exercising their Second Amendment right. Okay. So they ended up settling with the city, and the city gave them a license, and it was like, really? So, but there goes that agenda again. Whereas, you know, when something happens with a gun, people are trying to shut it down. But I mean, you need the yin and the yang to survive.
Yeah, Florida. People always used to say that Florida was the gunshine state, but it took some real work to make Florida the gun-friendly state that it is. It wasn't always that way. Long time, people like Marion Hammer and NRA, and this like Florida Concealed Carry Association. There's a whole bunch of organizations in Florida. They work really hard to get the laws that they have now. It wasn't always like it is.
Oh wow. Well, I just know like every time I go down to Florida, it was very welcoming with the gun culture. But then too, I do remember back in like the late 80s, early 90s,
that's when it changed.
Used to be rough. And you know, just looking at the stuff on TV and then listening to music, you know, so positive change can come, and Florida is, you know, in recognition of that. But I think California needs to do something, and they need to get on board with everybody else.
Man, California been operating on stupid a long time, dude. It's been really, really bad.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know what to say, man. Like now that they approved all that stuff with the bullet button, and I'd be like, if you got a gun, why even live in California? That's just crazy to me.
Yeah. They've had the same politicians for a long time. Like Dianne Feinstein, who's been adamantly anti-gun forever and a day, has been there since I think Moses came down from Sinai. And she is horrible, man, for the rights of the people in California, but she stays in office. She's a career politician. So maybe one day they'll elect somebody. They had a guy that was also really bad, and he actually got arrested later for his own gun charges, and luckily he got taken out of office by his own foolishness. We haven't been so lucky with Dianne Feinstein yet.
And I'm a firm believer in that they need to incorporate term limits in office. If the president got term limits, Congress and senators need to have term limits.
Man, there's some people in DC that I done seen since I was a kid. They still in office.
Oh yeah, still people. Well, your time was a civil rights movement, so imagine like with me, I'm looking in the history book and I'm like, man, that dude's still sitting on Congress. Really?
Old. I'm talking old, dude. And they still around.
Yeah, I like that's it blows my mind. That's all I can say. It really blows my mind. But we need fresh blood in, you know, the government and politics. And that's the only way we can really move forward. That is truly the only way we can move forward. Because I'm even considering taking up something and running for Congress. I'm seriously thinking about it.
It's a good job, dude. You get paid a lot and you don't have to do that much work.
Well, to me, it's not about the money. It's all about the output.
That's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a service job.
Exactly. So like everything I do right now related to guns, right? So all the interviews you see me doing, Black Men with the Gun podcast, I'm not getting paid for anything. I've never asked to get paid for anything, right? That's community service to me because that's something I enjoy doing. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense for me to hoard that knowledge. But now, when you look at it from a political standpoint, the same people that started the government, it was supposed to be just like it is in the church, a community service, and why would you want to benefit off the same people you're setting rules and guidelines from? Because once that takes place, now that's where the corruption and all that comes in. So me personally, we need to do a complete reset on the political process, because it's too much backdoor deals going on. And man, I could tell you about some of the conspiracy theories that I have going on with a lot of things.
Yeah, but most of the stuff, you get a person who starts off right, they're all right, and then they get to Washington, and they learn that if they want to get bills passed, they have to make deals, and it becomes the art of the deal, and less about the people. And then once the stuff gets done, we get lazy as voters and say, all right, I know this guy, I know this lady, so I'll leave him in office. And then next thing, that's another 4 years, another 2 years. And instead of looking at the new person or grooming somebody in the local elections, nah, we don't do that either. We just kind of like, oh yeah, they're famous, they're okay. Next, on with my life. And this person is just getting moved right on up in the system, and they're not helping anybody but themselves. It's a vicious cycle.
And that's what it actually, honestly, that's all it is people are doing matters all for their self gain.
Yeah, all day.
One thing that's really pissing me off is when you sit here and you look at the roads. For people out there who travel around, it's like, with me, I travel around a lot. Down in Louisiana, the roads down there are jacked up. So it's like the more you come to the East Coast, the better the roads get. All right. The more you go out west, the more jacked up the roads get. But isn't there something that they already take taxes out for road repairs? And
oh yeah, that money got diverted to something else. That was some other cause. Every time there's a lottery somewhere or some casino, there's always somebody saying, well, we're going to earmark some of that money to the schools. We're going to earmark some of that money to the roads, to the transportation system. Where it goes, I don't know, but the casinos and the lotteries still operate, but nobody really gets helped except for the politicians and the lottery board.
There's a lot of greased palms in there. A lot of greased palms. And, I'm not ashamed to say this. I think the reason why a lot of people have something against the NRA from a political standpoint is that, lobbyists, NRA have lobbyists. That's known. Everything I'm saying is public record. You can go look this up and see it for yourself. But I believe a lot of people who in Congress and the senators and the political platform want to see the NRA shut down is they didn't get their palms greased the way they wanted to by the NRA. And that's the reason why they want to shut down the NRA, but it could be more, but that probably is the starting point to it. But once again, it goes back to the corruption part, whereas you're not doing it for the people, you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but
I know. You got another good topic. What else did you get for this week?
Like we briefly talked about the whole bullet button.
Yeah, for California.
California. So what's taking place is there's gun activists out there in California, and they're asking the courts to step in regards to the whole bullet button controversy that's going on out there. Because if you're not clear on what the bullet button is, you take an AR-15. The state of California is saying you can't have a magazine that detaches from the weapon, the firearm, right?
Oh,
but
wow.
at the same time, now your bullet button literally is the button you push. It's causing all kind of chaos. So people are coming up with genius ideas. Like I put something on the M-W Tactical Facebook page, whereas you put something into the ejection port of the AR-15 and slide the rounds in, and it loads it up. 5.56. It's on my page. Totally genius. But once again, it's 10 rounds. It's a static, magazine. But why must you go through all that? Because of one state. I mean, honestly, look at it. So when gun manufacturers are making something, a new weapon system, they got to consider, oh, jacked up California.
Oh, and Maryland, we got them too. We got like 10 round magazine limits. We have the
Yeah,
length of,
but Maryland's not doing the gun button.
no, no. But we got stupid stuff too. We got like extra long barrels on our rifles.
Yeah. Oh, they're taking it back to the muskets.
Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it.
Yeah. So like even when you sit there and you look at it, the AR-15, the one that I seen for California, it looks just like an AR-15, except there's added pieces to it.
Okay.
And I'm like, all that is totally uncalled for. For what reason?
Doesn't save the life of anybody.
Yeah. No. So I'm like, man. But on top of that, something else that's pretty jacked up is James Yeager in the YouTube.
Oh yeah, he got crucified, right?
Oh my goodness, man. He got I guess YouTube gives you 3 strikes before they shut your channel down completely.
Okay.
And some people are for James Yeager, some people are against James Yeager. Me personally, I think the guy is hilarious. I never met him personally. I wanted to go out there and shoot with him a few times, sit down and talk with him. Never had the opportunity, but when all the controversy started with him, I kind of like, oh, let me just back off of this. Because he had made some video, and I think he had said something about hurting some people, or like they come for his guns, he's willing to hurt people. So ATF went in and raided him and took his, or the state, or it was something crazy like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember how it exactly went, but he got all that rectified, came back, and smart businessman, gives his shooting classes, and then next thing you know, he came back and said, well, he got a strike for whatever reason, got another strike for whatever reason. But then again, I think just YouTube is just attacking gun channels, so, and I think that's the reason why he got a 3rd strike. It could have been something as simple as, hey, I'm just coming on here to say, go to the range, be safe, Merry Christmas. Automatically, he got a 3rd strike. And once again, like I said, it was a few conversations he had that I didn't agree with him. Whereas I do believe he's the type of person, if you don't agree with his way of thinking or, his thought, he holds it against you, But once again, I did 20 something years in the military to protect the rights of the people, right? So regardless if you are hated, liked, whatever your stance is, it doesn't matter. You still have freedom of speech, but they shut them down. But for what reason? And there's a lot of people out there, like, if you go listen to Hank Strange's Who Moved My Freedom podcast, he's always talking about, like, yeah, I put this video up and it got demonetized by YouTube. Like they didn't even review it. It just instantly demonetized. Like, so what's really going on, But once again, YouTube is owned by Google, right? And I'm pretty sure somebody political is greasing palms again. Hey, let's go ahead. Let's wipe this under the rug. Let's get this out of here. And then we can work on another agenda to try to shut it down someplace else.
Well, and you also have people in YouTube that are not pro-gun. And so there's some big money people who are not pro-gun.
Yeah, but you want to know when people will become thankful for a gun? Once they get put in a position where somebody comes and saves them. So, I mean, honestly, think about it. If you're in a grocery store, Circle K or whatever the case may be, and somebody comes in, they start shooting. Everybody get down, empty out your pockets. You're going to fear for your life, especially if you're with your family, waving a gun around, but if somebody comes in with a gun and take out that shooter or those assailants, you're going to be more appreciative of that, because now it's going to be, well, I do thank you. I really do thank you for saving the life of my daughter or my son.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it could be, but I mean, if you're put in that position,
Yeah, it's a 50-50 thing. The people I've talked to in the past few years, they'll either be never, never again, or I don't want everyone to see a gun again. So it's a 50% split between how they're going to react. And some people, even veterans, can be anti-gun from stuff they've seen while they was overseas. And it's a toss-up. But the magic thing that always works is when it's a mother or a father protecting their child. Depending on what they were before, it doesn't matter. But when they go out of themselves and taking the protection of somebody else, changes everything. And mothers have been the strongest with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, of course, like coming back from overseas, being infantry, they pretty much say the only thing you're really qualified to do is a police officer, you know. And I've been hit up so many times about becoming an officer of the law.
Mm.
I mean, I could tell you stories for days. I got pulled over one time by a state trooper in Georgia. Um, After he wrote me a ticket, that joker, he was recruiting me to become a state trooper. you know, um, my house got shot up, and they officers were recruiting me to become a police officer.
All right, tell about this house getting shot up.
Oh man. Okay, yeah. So I didn't put this out on social media, and I was waiting on a social platform to talk about it, but I guess this would be the better platform to do this.
You got one now, man.
Oh, that's it. That's it. All right. So week before Christmas, or the Thursday before Christmas, because Christmas was on a Monday. So Thursday, I just got up. My leg and my back was hurting because the weather has started changing, and I got the bad knee and my back. So somebody rang my doorbell, knocked on the door. So I'm like, oh my goodness, now who is at my door? Because nobody really comes to my house other than neighbors when they want something. But normally my neighbors will call me, So I go ahead and I wobble downstairs. And, anytime I walk around my house, I keep my gun on me. So I conceal carry in my house. So open up the door, and of course, normally when I open the door, I have the gun pointed on the back side of the door. But this one time I kept the gun in my pants. And when I opened the door, I didn't open it up wide, of course, tactics, partially where you can only see part of my body and not so much in the house. This guy had on like a sweat outfit, a hat covering his ears, whatever. It was kind of cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
And when I opened the door, instantly I looked at him and I was spanning right behind him, right? Because I was actually looking for somebody else to like kind of bum rush the door.
Mm-hmm.
But first thing I did notice was a black SUV behind him, because every street in my neighborhood is a cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So I noticed the SUV creeping off, but going across the street to the other cul-de-sac.
Wow.
So the guy instantly, like, he looked at me and he went like this, just eyes got big, and he like the shock look. So then he started looking at the ground, and I was like, instantly, jack move. That's the first thing that came to my mind, jack move. And then he was like, hey man, you happen to see this little black Yorkie running around the neighborhood? So I'm sitting there and I look, and I was like, man, slammed the door, locked it, went to the window. Now, by the time I went to the window, the black SUV was coming back from the other side of the street. Okay. Now, remember, I live in a cul-de-sac, so when he was going around the circle, the guy was walking straight to the SUV, right? So I'm sitting there. I looked at it and I saw him walk straight to the SUV. I was like, oh, game time. So I went to my safe because, of course, when I was looking out the window, the windows were tinted on the truck, the SUV. So I couldn't see how many people was in there. But I automatically knew if I get to my AR, I got a better chance because I'm thinking it's about 3 or 4 people in the truck. So I'm sitting there, I'm turning the combination. And when I got to the last number, right before I went to open the door, I heard the pop, right? So I only heard one shot, right? And that was the shot that came into my house, and it hit the electrical outlet, but it ricocheted.
Wow.
So when the shot had happened, instantly I just, pulled up my shirt, pulled out the gun, and I fell behind the couch, using the couch for cover, and then, covering the door with the gun. So counted to 3. I waited a little bit. Then I used my infantry tactics and moved around the house to the window so I could see, if they were still out there. Because, I mean, honestly, why didn't they bum rush the door? If you're coming to break into the house, why didn't they bum rush the door after that? So obviously, they pulled off or whatever the case may be.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went out there and assessed the situation, came back in. And then I noticed that's when the socket in my house was kind of blown up from the bullet. So went back and I just traced everything. I saw the hole, walked outside, saw the hole where the entry port was. Then I walked out to the street, found the casing, right? But other neighbors, when they came around, they was like, "Hey, what's going on? Are you okay?" Whatever the case may be. And everybody kept saying they heard 3 shots. So me personally, I think the other 2 shots went into the ground, and the reason why I heard the one shot was because the muzzle was pointed to the ground, and that's how the sound dissipated, right? Or these cats just didn't know what they was doing, and he put his knees on the seat with his face facing the back of the car, and then when he shot the first shot, when the driver hit the gas, momentum pushed him forward. You know what I'm saying? And he did the other 2 shots, either shot the car or shot the ground. But there was no more casings outside. It was only that one casing that I found. So I just attribute it to people staking out the neighborhood.
But why they shoot your house?
Honestly, I think the guy got upset because I slammed the door in his face.
Oh, okay. What kind of shell casing did you see?
It was a 9mm. Yeah, it was a 9mm. So behind all that, you know what I'm saying? I honestly, the only reason I slammed the door in his face because the way I was thinking, if I started talking, he had the upper hand on me. So as soon as I started talking, he could have pulled a gun out and just came into the house. Or if it happened to be somebody there with him, now if I start talking, they just attack me. Because if you understand how your body works, it takes a quarter of a second to do everything. So when I put my hand on my handgun, it took me a quarter of a second to make that movement and take another quarter of a second to pull it out, right? And then another quarter of a second before I engage it to where I want to pull it, pull the trigger. So before you even look at it, now you're almost at 1 second, right? But when you break everything down to that, now if I started talking to that guy, like, nah, man, I didn't see, because normally when you start talking, you take your eyes off the person you're talking to, because I'm still assessing the situation. So if I was, nah, man, I didn't see no little Yorkie run around here, that would have been the moment where he could have bum rushed me or pulled the gun out, whatever case may be, because now my quarter of a second is gone for reaction time.
So what do you recommend for anybody else when come in that situation? If someone knocks on your door, how should they act?
Honestly, with technology today, and I'm not an endorser of Ring or any type of security company, but get that Ring doorbell, whereas you got the camera outside and you can literally look on your phone or computer and answer the door. So if I would have had that, I could have still been in my bed and been like, yo, what you want? Like that. True. Now, if he would have said that, I could have been like, nah, man, I ain't see no dog around here, but good luck on your search. You know what I'm saying? Now, that situation would have never happened because he wouldn't known if I was at home or if I would have been down the street.
That's true.
At the store.
Could they have been around your backyard too?
Say again?
They've been coming through the back door or another window while somebody was at the door?
Well, like I said, that didn't happen, but that could have happened. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta remember, my house is on 1 acre of land, and I got like 2,000 square feet, so it's pretty big. But you only really have 3 entry ports into my house: front door, the back door, and the garage door. So even if they would have came in through the back door and the front door simultaneously, I was in a position whereas the back door would have been closer to me because that's where the safe is. So even if it came in through the back door, right then and there, it would have been a muzzle pushed down in somebody's mouth. Yeah. So, and because like you got that straight line, like how my house is set up. So it's a straight line from the back door to the front door.
Well, I was just saying, while they were talking to you, that's when somebody else was walking in the back.
Yeah, I understood what you meant, but like I said, that wasn't the situation. But normally, that's how it normally is, so they can get the jump on you.
Okay. I'm glad it turned out like it did.
Oh well, I mean, personally, it could have turned out a different way, but the thing is they didn't realize that I was a veteran, what I was capable of doing, and it could have turned out worse for them.
Oh yeah.
So right after that, I actually contacted you. It was either that day or the next day.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go ahead and get that USCCA insurance. And you was like, yeah, use my code. Are you sure you gonna get credit for this? So I went on ahead and I got USCCA insurance because that was one of the first things I thought of after the fact because like I was always looking at USCCA and I heard the stories about those guys like when they go to jail, the retainer fees and all that. So when you sit there and you look at it, all your legal fees are going to start off at $50,000, you know, and everything else after that, you know, it's just going to be an uphill battle when it comes to money, right? Unless you're balling like that already, but I'm not at that baller status. So I went on ahead and I jumped on that, and then I went on ahead and put some more cameras around the house also.
Oh, okay.
So I've already had alarm system at the house, but I didn't have the cameras, you know, because I'm more like, man, you really don't need that. But once again, until you're put in that situation, you don't know. So I was put in that situation. Now, instead of me giving a verbal description to these guys, to the cops about these guys, now if I'd had the cameras out there, could have got a shot of the license plate or the vehicle and the person that came up to the door.
That's true. That code is uscca.blackmailthegun.com.
Yeah, that's what I use. After you gave it to me again.
Cool, man. Let's see if I can get this thing to work here. Trying something different right quick.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, outside of that, other than that, you know, I'm just sitting around and trying to wait for this cold weather to bypass us. Today it actually got up to 50 degrees, but I couldn't even get out of the bed, less known the house today, because fell out the bathtub, hurt my knee, so end up going to the hospital here in a little bit.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, man. So it's like one thing after another, you know how I go. And then I had the pipe that busted at my house. So I went and worked out. Today is what? Tuesday?
Yeah.
So what was that, like Friday, Thursday or Friday last week? So I went to the gym, came back home. Man, it was like a river in my kitchen. And I just sat there and I was like, my goodness, boy, when it rains, it pours. So I just laughed it off, cleaned it up, got it fixed, you know, just keep going. Can't dwell on it, you know.
Yeah. Hey, one of our listeners asked about first aid at the range. You got any experience with dealing with trauma?
The only real experience I have with dealing with trauma is what I've seen overseas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
battlefield stuff.
Yeah. So now, like I said, with my position when I was over there, like the first two times I went, I was a platoon, I mean not a platoon sergeant, but a squad leader. Okay. You know, so I'm directly engaging in the fight. So, you know, like when you're dealing with triage and trauma, anything of that such, that's normally the first sergeant. You know, so of course, you know, when you're dealing with trauma, you want to deal with the person who is the most hurt, you know,
first. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, of course, you know, like if something happened, so say like if we're at the Greyhound bus station and a bomb went off. Of course, if you're in the right frame of mind and shock hasn't hit you yet, you know, if you can assess the situation and help with the situation until the proper authorities come, what you want to do is ask people, whoever can walk, to go sit someplace else and assess themselves. You know what I'm saying? Now the people that are left, now you want to make a quick sweep of everything, but you want to attack the first person that's not attack, but you know what I'm saying, assess the first person that's closer to you. And from that point, now you start sweeping, right? Because the people that walked away, maybe somebody else can help you. And you know, hey, come over here and give me a hand. Hey, I did this with this person, right? But he's stable, right? Now you go to somebody else who's unconscious, but they're breathing, right? So you just want to make sure, assess them, make sure they're straight. And then, of course, you know, you start helping everybody, but now you start putting people in categories. And I can't remember the categories right offhand because this was years ago when I had this training. But I know you got like intermediate, minor. I know one of them's deceased. So it's about 5 different categories.
All right, we'll have that by next week.
Oh yeah, yeah. So like I said, I'll look through my books. I still got the books, when I had that class in the military.
It's a shame, man. You got to actually help other people talk about battlefield triage and stuff like that in today's world, but you got to make sure that our community is taken care of, and that's one of the main reasons for this podcast. There's a lot of shows that are doing a lot of different things, but my focus has always been on the community, taking care of us. There's just some little stuff. If I can encourage or inspire or educate you, that's what I'm doing. So these tips are made not really to sell anything to you or show you what the latest and the greatest. It's just to help you survive in today's world in a nice way. Give you some stuff to think about.
But I've always said that, like for people who are looking for training like that, start off with the basics. You know, simple first aid. You know, true, and you can go down to most cities. The fire department will give a free class, and I think you got to have something like between 5 and 10 people, and you go out to the fire department and you ask them to give you a first aid class. They'll give you a first aid class, and sometimes they'll certify you depending on how big that fire department is and, you know, their resources, of course. But hit up the American Red Cross. They'll come to your organization. They'll give a class, and go to the hospital and they can recommend and or give a class maybe. You know, so if you're looking for stuff like that, all it is the basics, and people build off of the basics to make it even better for a larger group. You know, so yeah, start off with your fire department, hit up American Red Cross, and your local or the closest like healthcare facility to you. Call them up and ask questions, and they'll point you in the right direction. Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. Any other points that you want to cover before we shut it down for this week?
How long we been on right now? I don't even know how long we've been talking.
It's been a minute.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I think I'll save it for the next time. Everything else I'll save for the next time, so we have something to talk about for a future show.
You got it, man.
Yeah. Oh, another thing is, if you haven't done so, and if you would like a Black Man with a Gun shirt, a Black Man with a Gun coffee mug, go to m-wtactical.com, click on the store, and then, you know, you'll see like the little store tab. Click on it. When it's open up, you have your choice of shirts. We're using the next level tees, so it's like a higher grade quality shirt. So and then the coffee mugs, you know, they're there. And actually, I got an M-W tactical mug. I just haven't bought it out because, you know, I was rushing to get to the computer, and then the little snafu I had with looking it up on Skype. But check out the M-W tactical website, and all the proceeds are going to everything we do far as 2A community stuff. You know, getting me and Ken to possibly come to your location, your area, and putting on shows, demonstrations, and talks. Like I told you beforehand, I'm thinking about wrapping my expedition. You know, so putting the M-W Tactical and Black Man with a Gun logo on the expedition, and anybody else who's willing to contribute, they can help. So like I said, we got the gun mobile ready to go. We just got to get it artwork ready.
Cool, man. Cool.
But yeah, so like I said, if you haven't done so, just check out the store, go buy some merchandise, show your support, and then hopefully we'll be in a city near you.
And you'll make sure you check us out on blackmanwithagun.com. I'm working on the website. It's a lot different from how it used to be because of that incredible accident that I had on New Year's Day. And then you can hear about that on the last video that I just did recently. Check it out at blackmanwithagun.com, and you'll see the changes. And if there's anything that you need or you want, feel free to send me a note at blackmanwithagun@gmail.com. Mike, take us out, man.
Yeah. One more thing I want to say is it is my goal for 2018. I want to hit up at least 5 states, and in each state, at least 2 gun ranges. So if the listening audience would like for that to happen, of course, you know, it'll be me and you, of course. Start sending it in where you want to go so we can start mapping it out. And like I said, I want to do a road trip for 2018, but I want to get bigger by 2020. Whereas we can hit up like Vegas or NRA convention or something like that. Pull up
Okay.
in the Gunmobile, got on our shirts, and we just go in and just have fun. You know. Speaking of that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put up this 2020 Ken Blanchard and Michael Woodland shirt. Let's run for office. You be the president, I'll be the vice president.
All right, Doc.
Matter of fact, all right. So I would say give me about 30 minutes after this podcast. Go check out m-wtactical.com and get your Blanchard Woodland 2020 shirt. That's how we gonna do this. That's how we gonna start it off. So everybody go get about 2 or 3, give to your family members and friends, help support us, and let's make some things happen.
You heard him.
Yep.
Let's make it happen.
Yep. So, on a brighter note, go out there, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun. Back to you, Ken.
Just in case nobody has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Until next time, shalom, baby.